All right, let's jump right in. We're talking about something that, honestly, a lot of people thought we wouldn't see again for a long, long time. We're looking at home prices, and they're actually going negative. For the last few years, the housing market has just been this runaway train, always going up, up, up. So that leads to the one question that's on everybody's mind, doesn't matter if you're a homeowner, a renter, or thinking about buying. Is this crazy housing boom finally actually over?
Well, the numbers are giving us a pretty blunt answer. Over the last 3 months, national home prices didn't just slow down. They've fallen by 1.4%. Now, I know, 1.4% might not sound like a huge number on its own, but trust me, after the streak we've been on, that is a massive, massive shift.
And this isn't just some random dip for a month. This is the first time since this whole boom started that we've seen prices nationally drop compared to the year before. It really signals a change in direction for the whole market. So, the big question is, how in the world did we get to this point?
Well, it all boils down to one simple but powerful idea: the great affordability squeeze. And believe me, this didn't just happen by accident. It was the direct result of a huge shock to the entire system. And this right here, this tells the whole story. Just look at mortgage rates. Back in March 2022, you could get a 30-year fixed long for under 4%. Fast forward to June of 2023, and that rate has skyrocketed to over 7%. That one change completely rewrote the rulebook for what the average person could afford to buy. Jason Louris from Park Labs has the perfect term for this. He calls it an affordability shock. And that's exactly what it is. It's not a gentle cooling, it's a sudden, jarring jolt that just slams the brakes on affordability. So you can see this chain reaction, right? Step 1, the affordability shock hits. That immediately leads to step 2. Buyer demand gets way, way weaker. It's simple math. Fewer people can actually afford to buy a house. And, well, what happens when buyers disappear? You get step 3. Sellers have to face reality and start adjusting their prices downwards. But here's where things get really interesting. That national number, that negative 1.4%, it's just an average. It kind of hides what's really going on. Because on the ground, we're seeing a tale of two completely different markets. It really depends on where you live. Just look at this breakdown. It's fascinating. You have cities like Austin, which were red hot during the pandemic, now seeing prices down a whopping 10% from last year. Denver and Tampa are cooling off in a big way, too. But then you look at other places. Cleveland, Chicago, even New York. Prices are still going up. It just goes to show you all real estate is local, right? Okay, so if some of these big markets are cooling down, you might be asking, why aren't we seeing a huge crash everywhere? And the answer, the really crucial piece of this puzzle, is inventory. So yeah, active listings are up, which means buyers have a few more choices. But, and this is the key, the number of people putting their homes on the market, the new listings, that's barely moved. So the overall supply is still incredibly low by historical standards. And that lack of supply is basically acting as a safety net for the whole market, keeping prices from totally collapsing. Which, of course, brings us to the big, scary question that's probably on your mind. What happens next? Are we looking at another 2008? Is the whole thing about to come crashing down?
Well, before we panic, let's get some perspective. During the Great Financial Crisis, home prices didn't just dip, they absolutely plummeted. We're talking a 27% drop nationally. That was a completely different beast, a true catastrophe driven by things we just aren't seeing today. And the experts tend to agree. Jason Louris says their prediction isn't for another deep dive. Instead, he expects a period where prices just hover around zero. Think about that. Not a crash, not a boom, but a market that's just kind of floating, trying to find its balance. So let's just nail down what this market hover really means. It's basically a period of stability. So you could forget those wild double-digit price jumps we got used to. Instead, think small gains one month, maybe small dips the next. It's the market finding its new normal. So when you put all the pieces together, the takeaway is pretty clear. The era of crazy explosive growth is over. But all the evidence points to a period of adjustment and stability, not another 2008-style crash. The fundamentals are just totally different this time around.
And that leaves us with one last question. And this one is all about you. In a market that isn't really booming or busting, but is just hovering, how does that change your plans? For you, does this new stability make it a good time to finally make a move? Or is it smarter to just stay put and see how it all plays out?